we go. All right, we're ready, everybody. Are you ready? Are you ready for a dandy Christmas? Okay. Music or no music? I think we'll keep the music on. Let's watch the cringe as in the Grinch. Okay. You're a mean one, Mr. Cringe. Well, hello, ladies and James. It is I, Yindy, and I will be reading part of the story. Yes. Okay. Let's get right into it. Put this over here. Okay. It's gonna be tiny for a moment, but I'll switch to full screen in a moment. All right. Welcome to a very dandy Christmas. The reading starts now. Yindy sounds like the bad guy in a Scooby-Doo episode. This is a Scooby-Doo episode. Welcome. MrDndy is the cringe. Mr. Cringe. All right, let me turn the music down, maybe just a scotch. Have it be a little bit more in the background. Okay. All right, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. A very dandy Christmas. Small snowflakes started falling as a new day started in the magical kingdom of Dandyland. It was early December and winter was taking over the land. As the last groups of birds made their way into the sky and towards a warmer climate, so too started the people of Dandyland with their final preparations for winter. Livestock farmers started bringing their cattle inside to keep them warm and safe, and the villagers went into the forest to get the last firewood for cooking and warmth. The towns and villagers started hanging Christmas decorations as the time for the great Christmas feast was nearing. Every year, King Dandy the Great holds a great feast in the castle, and people would come from all over the country. All the villages participate as the king sends gifts throughout the land. You see, King Dandy was an honorable king. He loved all the people in his kingdom, and at the end of the year, he shares his wealth with the land. As winter starts and times get tough for the unfortunate and poor, the king calls upon the people to share their wealth. As king, he sets the example with the great feast for Christmas. Do a flip. What up, Joshua? Merry Christmas. Welcome. All right, we're doing our dandy Christmas reading. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, right back into it. As the cold wind blew snowflakes across the village, Kunstbluter opened the front door of her little cottage. She was new to Dandyland, only arrived a few months earlier. She had heard the stories about this land and was curious to see if they were true, especially the feast in the castle was something that spoke to her imagination. As an artist by trade, she traveled the realms looking for inspiration and a place to call home. She rented a little cottage from Exciting Intro, a scholar and bookworm that lived in the same village. Like the other villagers, she set out into the forest in search for more firewood, so she put on her wool, cape, and gloves. The basket for the firewood was made so she could wear it like a backpack, and she grabbed the axe from the small tool shed. All right. Walking down the road, she noticed Panagiotis, the village hunter, so she called out to him. Okay, we're gonna try to do some voices. Pana, she shouted. Wait for me. Pana turned around and waited for her to catch up with him. Good morning, he said, as she came closer. Out for some firewood? You should hurry up with that. It's not long before the snow will cover the land, she replied. I know, and since you know these forests well, can you point me to a good place for firewood? Most of it is already taken by the villagers. I guess I'm a little bit late. He thought a bit about what she asked and checked to see if no one was around before answering her. Well, you could go to the south part of the forest where the mountains start. It's a rocky area, but it's hard to travel through. That's why most people don't come there. Well, that and because of the dragon, of course. He thought a bit about what she asked, checked to see... Oh wait, sorry. I reread that. She stared at him for a few seconds and started to laugh. A dragon, she said. Well, that would be a good sight to behold. He laughed with her. It's a story we tell to the children to keep them away from the dangers of the mountains. The story has been handed down for generations. As she started walking towards the southern part of the forest, she said, well, I will keep my eyes peeled for any dragons, but I do need the firewood. She walked for about 2 hours as the forest became thicker and the rocks became bigger. Although it was cold with the snow and wind, it was a beautiful day. It was quiet in this part of the forest, though. The further she went, the more prominent the silence became. The birds stopped singing as the wind started picking up. A chill went down her spine as she stopped and put down the basket. It sure is creepy in this part of the forest, she thought to herself as she sought out a nice and dry fallen tree. She started chopping up the birch tree and filling up the basket. When she filled up the basket, she decided it was time to head home. Alright, by the way, let's get... I think it's this one. There's a picture of Kunstbluter. Sorry, dang it. Why is it so tiny? Okay, there we go. There's a picture of Kunstbluter. And that is, I guess, our first character of the story. Alright, let's see. I think I'm actually going to zoom in on the text because I'm old and I can't see. Okay, there we go. This will be easier. Alright. The clouds had become thicker with snow, and the forest had become noticeably darker as she walked back. The wind tore through the wool cape, and she shivered and longed for the fire in her cottage. With a heavy load of firewood on her back, she struggled to get through the forest. Tired and out of breath, she noticed a cave that she must have missed on the way in. Now, one thing you should know about her is that she has a talent for finding trouble. Curiosity got the better of her, so she walked into the cave. The entrance was small, so she left her firewood outside as she squeezed inside. To her surprise, the temperature inside was a lot higher than that outside, and an unpleasant odor greeted her as she followed the cave down. What is that smell? She said out loud as she went further in. Rotten eggs? What is that? Why would it smell of rotten eggs in here? She mumbled. She suddenly came to a stop and her heart started to race because only 10 meters away from her was a big, red dragon. Smoke came from his nostrils and the air vibrated from the heat emanating from him. The dragon stood on top of a huge pile of woolongs, golden artifacts, and it seemed to be talking to it. Shaken, she dropped her axe to the floor, and the sound of it hitting the cave floor spooked both her and the dragon. She turned pale as the dragon turned and looked at her. All right, let's take a look at the dragon again. Have you come to take my treasure? Have you come to slay me with your puny little axe? The dragon shouted at her. You wouldn't be the first, and you wouldn't be the last, but you are no knight. You are no dragon slayer. The dragon squinted his eyes and pointed at her. You look lost. It took her a few seconds to regain control over her voice, but then she replied, Well, I've come for firewood. The dragon let out a deafening laugh as he said, Firewood? Do I look like firewood to you? Annoyed, she said, Well, no, you don't. I mean, the forest. I came for the firewood from the forest. The dragon stayed quiet for a while and looked at her as if he was studying her, hatching an evil plan. All right then, the dragon said. My name is Rayantax. and I am a magical dragon. First of all, tell no one what you saw here, or I will hunt you down. But in exchange for your silence and your life, I can grant you a wish, but it will have a price. She thought for a moment before replying to the dragon, thinking back to the story she'd heard about the great feast in the castle and being curious by nature. She said to the dragon, I will not tell anyone what I saw, and I do have a wish. I want to attend the feast at the castle, so I want you to turn me into a princess. What is the price that you ask of me? Laughter came from the dragon as he shouted, ha ha ha. Very well. A princess you will be. Wait here, he said as he walked off deeper into the cave. When he came back, he dropped a package at her feet. Plop. In here is a princess gown. Wear it, and your wish will come true. The price I ask is fair and low. Of all your earnings, I want a share. Take what you need to live your life. The rest is paid to me. Now go and leave me with my woolongs, and return each month to pay what I am owed, or pay the ultimate price. Excited but also glad to be outside again, she walked back to her cottage with the firewood on her back and the package and axe in her hands. A freaking magical dragon, she said smilingly as she opened the door and put everything down. Sorry, that dragon voice took it out of me a little. Quick tea break. Oh goodness. Yeah, my throat's been hurting me since I played saxophone, but alright, anyway, right back into it. The day of the great feast had finally come, and she woke up early to the sounds of birds. The sun was out, and it was a lovely, lovely day. The previous day, a thick coat of snow had fallen, covering most of the land. As she opened the curtains, several songbirds landed on the windowsill, and they burst into a beautiful song. Chirp, son, chirpy chirp. Do you understand the words that come out of my mouth? Beak, whatever. I'm a bird, chirp. She opened up the package. That's not part of the story. That wasn't written. She opened up the package the dragon had given her and laid the beautiful gown out on the bed. She gasped as she saw the delicate stitching and wonderful stones on the gown. Definitely worthy of a princess, she said to no one in particular as she put the gown on. Earlier she had arranged for a carriage to take her to the castle, and while she waited for it, she sang with the songbirds that were still at her window. Chirp, chirp, son, chirp. When the carriage arrived, she stepped outside, and as she did, the sunlight broke through the clouds, putting her in a spotlight. Oh. The birds flew up from the windowsill, and while singing, landed on her arms and did acrobatics around her. A true magical moment, she thought to herself as she got into the carriage. The ride to the castle took her through the villages, and everywhere she looked, she saw people dressing up nicely, fires outside being lit, while tables were being set with food and drinks. Surely the whole country was getting ready for the feast. The castle was huge, way bigger than she had dreamed, and excitement got hold of her as the carriage went through the main gate in the wall. Everywhere she looked there were decorations and bonfires. It all seemed to come straight out of a fairy tale. The sound of the shoe horses hitting the cobblestones came to a halt as she reached the square in front of the castle. The door of the carriage swung open by a jovial-looking knight that helped her out of the carriage. And here we've got our next character. Oh, sorry, spoilers. Our next character. Yugonada enters. Okay, I'm going to try my best Yugonada voice. Welcome to the castle, princess, he said while bowing down. My name is Yugonada Rickard, and I am a knight in King Dandy's court. Allow me to escort you to the Great Hall. Please do, said Kunstbluter. She said through her arms, and Yugonada guided her through the grand entrance and hallway. It worked, she thought to herself. I will get to see how the king lives, part of their court. even if it's just for a short time. The dragon was truly magical. Amazed, she looked around the great hall where tables were set with all kinds of food she had never seen before, drinks that bubbled, candles that sparkled, and laughter and merry people everywhere she looked. I can get used to this, she thought. But something was missing. She expected a throne with a king sitting on it, but it was nowhere to be found. She was startled as Yugonada spoke up. Princess, meet MrDndy. She turned around and stood eye to eye with King Danny, who welcomed her to his castle. So there's the spoilers. Sorry for asking this, she said, but I expected you to be seated on the throne. King Danny burst into laughter. A throne? No, my dear. No, we don't need thrones here. It's bad enough. I have to wear this. He pointed to a small golden crown on his head, as if to apologize. You see, we're all equals here. No thrones, no privileges, or special treatments. Confused, she said. But you're king, are you not? I see knights here in this room. King Dandy smiled as he said, That is true. It is my task to lead, and it is the task of my knights to guard and protect the kingdom. Likewise, it's the task of the farmer to grow crops or raise cattle, of the baker to produce bread, the winemaker to produce wine, the schnozberry maker to make schnozberries. I'm sure you know, the artists make the art, and the, oh well, I'm rambling, you get my point. We all have our duties, but we are all equal here. The doors in this castle are always open to anyone in my kingdom. So be welcome and enjoy the feast. As he finished his sentence, the knight Suki came in and asked the king for an audience to discuss the recent shark attacks on the king's rafts. Excuse me, Kunstbluter, King Dandy continued. Duty calls. With a wink. Did I blink or did I wink? With a wink, he turned around and followed Knight Suki to a quieter spot. Confused, she stood there in the middle of the crowd. The music, the laughing, the people, the dancing, they all faded into the background as her mind began to race. Did the king just say that the doors in this castle are always open to anyone? And wait, did he just say her name? Did he know she's not a princess and just a traveling artist? Nervously, she looked around, expecting the knights to close in on her and toss her out. But they didn't. No one seemed to know or care. Everyone was just enjoying the music, the food, and drinks, and each other's company. But when she noticed someone in the crowd, is that exciting intro here? She walked up to her, grabbed her arm, took her to a quiet spot. And here we've got exciting intro. Our scholar of the story. Are you part of this court? She asked the scholar. What do you mean? Was her response. Sorry, exciting it. I don't know what you sound like. I'm just kind of doing a higher pitched voice. I'm just a scholar that loves to read books and learn. I don't work for the king. My only job is to educate children. I live for teaching. That's why I get up at 4 a.m. to read all that I can. Kunstbluter stopped her. Yes, very good, but why are you here? Well, why are you here? Exciting said. I'm here to enjoy the feast, like you and everyone else. Even scholars deserve to dance and have fun now and then. The castle is open to everyone, after all. That freaking dragon, she felt the rage boiling inside her. Kunstbluter thought. He tricked me. I promised a lifelong payment to him so he would turn me into a princess. I could get access to this feast. Scholar burst into laughter. Have you been drinking a bit too much, dear? A dragon turning you into a princess? Come on, let me take you to a guest chamber to sleep it off. We'll talk about it in the morning. No, she yelled. He tricked me. If everyone is welcome, why do these great knights of the realm not let a freaking dragon steal people's earnings? She turned away and ran across the great hall where a group of knights were standing. You there, said Kunstbluter. Why are you not protecting innocent people against the dragon? Confused, the knights turned towards her and Excarnate stepped forward. Let's see. And here we've got Excarnate. Calm down, my lady. I assure you there are no dragons in this realm. I might suggest you get some rest. Excarnate signaled to a servant to take her to one of the guest chambers. No dragon, she replied. Are you scared to fight him, or are you calling me a liar? Night Angel stepped forward, trying to calm her down. Fighting a dragon sounds boring to me, especially since they don't exist. I don't like it. I can't do the high pitch Angel voice. I don't think we have art for Angel, so that's why I didn't show him. Anyway, Griff, the town detective, overheard the conversation and mumbled, "Oh wait, Griff was added to the story. Hang on. I've got his picture. I just have to pull it up again. Hang on. I gotta put it on my full screen window here. Pause. Okay, got it. Switch back to the story. Show the screen, and there we go. There is. Sorry, I guess I didn't full screen all these other ones. So there's exciting intro. There's Yuganada. There's Excarnate. And now we're on Griff. So. Alright. So Griff, the town detective, overheard the conversation and mumbled, "I don't know, but looks like there's an imposter among us. Sounds totally sus." I know. My English accent's bad. The scholar grabbed her arm and pulled her away from the group of knights. Let's say let's switch back to exciting intro. "Come with me and shut up," she said. When she shut the door of the guest chamber behind them, the scholar continued, "Are you sure you saw a dragon and he promised to make you a princess in return for payment?" Switching back and forth between the characters is gonna take some time. Wait, where's... Oh, okay. Thought I had titled them. Anyway. "Yes, that is what I'm telling you," the artist shouted. The scholar looked intrigued. The years and years of studying had filled her with knowledge of every little tale and folklore. Pieces were starting to come together as she looked at the artist. "That is interesting. There's this centuries-old legend that tells of a dragon that used to live in this realm. He lived in a cave filled with woolongs." "That is him!" the artist shouted again. The scholar gave her an irritated look. "Stop shouting, please. The dragon from the legend is said to have been a trickster. He is harmless, but tries to trick people into giving him woolongs, just like what you said. Wait, a princess?" "Really?" The scholar started to laugh. "So, what happened exactly? Did a beam of sunlight surround you and birds started singing when you turned into a princess?" She turned red and replied, "Well, yeah, something like that. He gave me a gown, this gown I'm wearing right now. And when I heard that I would turn into a princess..." Okay, I'm thinking back, it does sound a little stupid, but Knight Yuganada called me a princess, and he guided me to the Great Hall. An amused smile came over the scholar's face. "Yeah, that's Yuganada. He calls every woman a princess." "For freak's sake," Kunstbluter mumbled. "So, how do we slay this stupid dragon? I don't think we can expect help from those useless knights." Well, the scholar started thinking and stared at the wall for a bit. "I don't think we need to slay it per se. See, if this is indeed the same dragon, then he's pretty harmless, just a trickster. And I remember something I read in the book of dragon slaying." "I like the sound of that," the artist said with a bloodthirsty smile on her face. "Hehe. Slay the freaking dragon." The scholar continued, "This type of dragon, if I'm right, is actually not so much a dragon, but more like a cursed person. He has two forms, a human form and a dragon form." Oh. It's a curse that makes him turn into an evil dragon when he comes into contact with gold, which, as we know, the source of all evil. Yes, very interesting," she said impatiently. "How do we get rid of him then?" Scholar let out a sigh. Let me speak then. His dragon form desires to become the prominent form and therefore does what it can to get gold. His human form is the opposite and despises gold. When he comes into contact with gold, the dragon starts to come out and probably drives him back to the cave with gold so he can completely take over, get rid of the gold, and he can't become a full dragon. Get rid of the gold, the artist said. Sure, that is so simple. Just hide all the gold that is in the cave. There are tons of woolongs in there. And that is where science comes in. She blinded me with it. Some of this stuff is ad hoc-y, let me just say. And that was part of it. Anyway, that wasn't written. Said the scholar with a smile on her face. Ever heard of Greek fire? Yes, the artist sighed. It's a legend. A legend indeed, just like the dragons. Luckily, I know a scholar that knows how to make it. And ta-da-da-da, it's me. I know how to make it. And with that Greek fire, we can melt all the gold inside the cave. The caves here are in sandstone, meaning the gold will melt through the holes and seep deep into the earth, deep enough for the dragon to not find it ever again. Now get some rest, and I will pick you up tomorrow, and we will play with fire. Kunstbluter gave her a blank look, probably much like that, sighed, and let herself fall face down into bed. I'm done. Leave me alone. When first light started seeping through the windows, she refused to open her eyes. She really didn't want to know if there really was, if she was really in the castle, but hoped that instead she was in her cottage and all that was just a stupid, weird little dream. But after laying there for about an hour, with her eyes closed, she opened just one eye and mumbled, "Please, please, please, let it be my cottage." Of course it wasn't. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. She was still in the guest chamber in the castle, and to make matters worse, a loud knock sounded, as well as the voice of Excarnate. Rise and shine. I brought you cookies and by request of exciting intro, more practical clothes. I take it you are returning home today and maybe travel to a new realm for art inspiration. She sighed. Leave it at the door and go away, she replied. I hate this realm. It's stupid. The knights are stupid. The dragon is stupid. Everything is stupid. So yeah, I might just go to a new realm, but not before I met that friggin' dragon's cult. She quickly took the clothes and got dressed. She left the cookies on the plate because they seemed soggy. Imagine that. In the hallway, she noticed the scholar sitting on a chair, apparently already there for several hours. She had a large and thick, dusty book and a bag full of stuff. Brought you the book with the legend of the dragon, the scholar exclaimed. Does it have any art in it? The artist asked. Well, no, the scholar replied. Then I don't care. Let's go and melt that dragon's gold and be done with this. It took a good while for them to reach the forest and to find the cave again. Unlike the first time she was there, the forest felt lighter. The birds were singing and the sun came through the canopies. The snow was still there, but the wind wasn't as strong as that first day. It was a nice wintry day, perfectly fit to ruin a dragon's day. As they entered the cave, the temperature wasn't as high as it was before, and the smell, although still there, was much less prominent. You smell that? The scholar said. The smell of rotten eggs? It's sulfur. It's a chemical element that smells... whose smell... Let me restart that. The smell of rotten eggs? It's sulfur. It's a chemical element, and that smell is caused by the hydrogen sulfide released by... Yeah, I know, said Kunstbluter. Let's get on with it, and set this cave on fire. Softly, she mumbled, freaking scholars. Alright, I think we're reaching the final act here. As they came to the main cave area where the dragon was when she first met him, they noticed the dragon was not there, only a large pile of woolongs and gold objects lay on the floor. Relieved, they set out to work and rolled out a fuse towards the entrance. Outside, they lit a fuse with a loud bang. The Greek fire ignited and burned its way through the pile of gold. Now the Greek fire is unlike normal fire. It keeps burning for a long time and at an extreme temperature. The gold liquefied and seeped into the cave floor, flowing down into the rocks until not a trace of it could be found. "That will teach that trickster," she said as she and the scholar walked away from the cave, and applause sounded and spooked. They turned to see King Dandy and a group of his knights on a horse. "What are you doing here?" asked Kunstbluter. "Well, one of the servants overheard your talk about the dragon," said Dandy. "While we didn't really give it much credit, wouldn't leave you two here to fight it alone. That's why we have knights, after all." Enter Angel. "Fighting dragons, stupid, I don't like it. It's stupid dragons, I hate it. Stupid, this is stupid," Angel mumbled. "Even so," says Dandy, "I applaud you two for your victory over the dragon, and I hope you both will stay at the castle a little while longer. At least stay the winter, and teach us about the dragon. And art." "I don't know about the exciting intro, but I would love to stay here in the court a little while longer," the artist replied. "But wait, not all of your knights are here." "No, that is right. Excarnate had other business to attend to, so he stayed behind in the castle. A cave full of gold doesn't really interest him anyway. He despises gold. Who would have thought? But come, let us go back to the castle and celebrate." The artist and scholar looked at each other but decided to stay silent. And so, this tale ends for now. The scholar went back to her books and spent most of her days and nights reading and learning, all day every day, forever and ever. The artist came back to the castle and started drawing and painting. The realm became quiet again, and no sight of the dragon has been seen or reported since. Merry Christmas, the end. And there we go. We have our very merry, dandy Christmas. By big shout out to Excarnate for writing the story. Big shout out to Kunstbluter for all the art, and super fun. Thank you so much. It's been really fun reading that. I know my voices were kind of subpar, but poor dragon, evil artisan scholar. I know I missed a lot of chats too, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading it for sure.